Admiral Dae Sung sat quietly in the massive diplomatic chamber, his hands folded on the table before him. The room was enormous, built to hold representatives from 47 different species. Lights from 1,000 glowing panels reflected off the polished metal walls. Outside the vast windows, stars drifted past in the endless black of space. This was the third month of peace talks. 3 months of insults. 3 months of accusations. 3 months of watching the Galactic Council ignore every piece of evidence humanity brought forward. Ambassador Ji-won sat to his left, her face calm, but her eyes sharp. She had recorded every single moment of these talks, every lie the Krillians told, every time the Council dismissed human concerns. Captain Hana sat to his right, her jaw tight with barely controlled anger. She wanted to leave. She had wanted to leave 2 months ago. Dae Sung understood her frustration. He felt it too. Across the chamber, High Counselor Vexitar rose from his seat. The Krillian leader was tall, with deep blue skin and 4 arms that moved as he spoke. His voice carried across the room with practiced authority. "The human delegation continues to waste this council's time," Vexitar announced. "They refuse to accept responsibility for their aggression. They refuse to pay what they owe." Dae Sung said nothing. He had learned that interrupting only made things worse. "Humanity attacked our peaceful mining operations," Vexitar continued. "They destroyed our ships. They killed our people, and now they sit here pretending to be victims." Ambassador Tholrak, another Krillian diplomat, stood as well. "We have been patient. We have been generous. But humanity's arrogance knows no bounds." Ji-won leaned close to Dae Sung and whispered, "The mining operation they mention? That was our colony. Our people. Our children." Dae Sung nodded slightly. He knew, everyone at this table knew. The Krillians had raided 12 human colonies over the past year. They attacked farms, took resources, and killed anyone who resisted. When human defense forces finally responded and drove them off, the Krillians came to the Galactic Council crying about human violence, and the Council had believed them. Elder Morthex, a representative from one of the oldest species in the galaxy, raised one of his many hands. "High Counselor Vexitar, perhaps we should review the evidence once more." "There is nothing to review," Vexitar said sharply. "The humans are guilty. They must surrender 12 colony worlds as payment for their crimes. They must provide tribute for the next 50 years. This is justice." Around the chamber, various alien delegates nodded or made sounds of agreement. Some looked uncomfortable but said nothing. A few, like Representative Zindar, watched with careful, thoughtful eyes. Dae Sung had presented evidence 3 times. Video recordings of Krillian ships attacking human farms, testimony from survivors, flight data showing Krillian vessels entering human space without permission, medical records of injured colonists. Each time Vexitar had dismissed it. "Fabricated," he would say. "Human lies." And each time the Council had accepted his word over human proof. Captain Hana's hand moved toward the table's edge, her fingers tapping once. A signal. She was asking permission to speak. Dae Sung tapped back twice. "Not yet. The human delegation has 1 day to accept our terms," Vexitar declared. "Surrender the 12 colonies. Begin tribute payments. Issue a formal apology to the Krillian Empire. If you refuse, there will be consequences." "What consequences?" Ji-won asked quietly. Vexitar's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "The Krillian Empire has many ships, Ambassador. Many soldiers. We have been peaceful, but if humanity insists on war, we will oblige them." The chamber fell silent. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was a direct threat, spoken openly before the entire council. Elder Morthex spoke again. "High Counselor, such language is inappropriate for this forum. Is it?" Vexitar turned to face the elder. "Humanity refuses every reasonable demand. They show no respect for this council or its decisions. They are primitive warmongers who care nothing for galactic law." Dae Sung took a slow breath. In his peripheral vision, he saw Captain Hana's jaw clench tighter. He saw Dr. Yuna, sitting behind them with the rest of the human delegation, close her datapad. She had stopped taking notes. That meant she had reached the same conclusion he had. These talks were over. They had been over for weeks, really. Perhaps they had been over from the beginning. The Council had decided what they believed before humanity ever arrived. No amount of evidence would change their minds. The Krillians were an old, established power. Humanity was new, barely 200 years in space. The council would always side with the known over the unknown. Daesung stood up. The room fell quiet. All eyes turned to him. Admiral Daesung, Elder Morthek said. Do you wish to speak? No, Elder. Daesung replied calmly. I wish to thank you. Confusion rippled through the chamber. Thank us? Vextar laughed. For what? For your time, Daesung said. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of various delegates. For 3 months, the Galactic Council has listened to our case. You have reviewed our evidence. You have heard our testimony. We came here in good faith, hoping for justice and peace. He paused. We understand now that we will find neither here. Vextar's laughter grew louder. So humanity finally accepts its guilt? No, Daesung said simply. Humanity recognizes that this council has made its decision. Further discussion would waste everyone's time. Therefore, the human delegation is withdrawing from these negotiations. The laughter stopped. Withdrawing? Thalrex said. You cannot simply withdraw. We can, G1 said, standing as well. And we are. Captain Hana stood. Behind them, the entire human delegation rose as one. 30 people, moving in perfect coordination. This is a negotiation tactic, Vexitar said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. You think walking away will make us offer better terms? No, Daesung said. We are simply done talking. He turned toward the exit. If you leave this council, Vextar shouted, you leave its protection. The Krillian Empire will take what it is owed. We will claim those colonies. You will do what you feel you must, Daesung said without turning around. And so will we. The human delegation walked toward the chamber doors. Their footsteps echoed in the stunned silence. No one moved to stop them. No one spoke. As they reached the exit, Elder Morthex's voice called out. Admiral Daesung, please reconsider. War serves no one. Daesung stopped. He turned to look at the old alien, one of the few who had shown any fairness during these talks. We came here seeking peace, Elder, Daesung said quietly. We were insulted, threatened, and dismissed. Our evidence was called lies. Our dead were called aggressors. We accepted all of this with patience because we value peace. He paused. But peace requires respect from both sides. It requires good faith. It requires truth. None of those things exist in this chamber. So we are leaving. What happens next is not our choice. It is yours. The doors opened. The human delegation walked through. Behind them, the chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted. Some laughed. Some argued. Vextar was yelling about human cowardice and Krillian victory. But Elder Morthex sat quietly, his ancient eyes watching the empty doorway. He had seen many species storm out of negotiations in anger. He had seen delegates throw furniture and make threats. He had seen emotional outbursts and dramatic exits. He had never seen anything like this. The humans had not been angry. They had been calm, measured, almost sad, and that terrified him far more than any threat ever could. Representative Zindar, he said to the delegate beside him, have your people ever fought humans? Zindar's scales rippled with unease. Long ago, before they joined the galactic community, what happened? Zindar was quiet for a long moment. We learned that humans have very long patience. But when that patience ends, so does everything else. We made peace quickly, very quickly. Why? Because, Zindar said softly, watching the chaos in the chamber, humans at war are not like other species. They do not fight with anger or rage. They fight with purpose. And they do not stop until that purpose is achieved. Elder Morthex looked back at the empty doorway. I fear this council has made a terrible mistake, he said. But no one was listening. They were all too busy laughing and celebrating humanity's retreat. The Galactic Council chamber was full again the next day. Representatives from dozens of species debated what the human departure meant. Most thought it was simple. The humans would cool down for a few days, then return with lower demands. Some thought humanity would simply accept the Krillian terms. High Counselor Vextar stood at the center of the room, his 4 arms spread wide in triumph. The human retreat proves what I have said all along. They are cowards. They know they cannot stand against the Krillian Empire. Several delegates nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Should we send a message to the human delegation? Someone asked, why? Vextar laughed. Let them come crawling back on their own. Let them learn humility. Across the galaxy, in human space, a very different scene was unfolding. Admiral Dae-sung stood in the command center of the human flagship. Screens surrounded him, showing the positions of every human ship in the fleet. Captain Hana stood beside him, reviewing tactical displays. Ambassador Ji-won was on a secure channel, speaking with the human government back on Earth. All colonies are reporting in, Captain Hana said. Defense protocols are active. Civilian evacuation is proceeding on schedule. How long until everyone is clear? Dae-sung asked. 48 hours for the outer colonies, 24 for the inner ones. Dae-sung nodded. And the fleet positions? Exactly where they need to be, Hana replied. We are pulling back from forward positions but not retreating. Every ship is moving to pre-assigned coordinates. On another screen, Commander Tae-yang's face appeared. He was leading the second fleet, positioned near the border with Krillian space. Admiral, our scouts report Krillian fleet movement. They are mobilizing. Let them, Dae-sung said calmly. Do not engage. Do not provoke. Simply observe and report. Understood, sir. The channel closed. Hana looked at Dae-sung. They think we are running. Good, Dae-sung replied. Let them think that. Back at the council station, the first intelligence reports were starting to arrive. A junior aide rushed into the chamber and approached Elder Morthex. Elder, we have reports from our monitoring stations. The human fleets are moving. Moving where? Morthex asked. Away from the border. They are pulling back. Around them, several delegates overheard this. The news spread quickly. Within minutes, the entire chamber knew. You see? Vextar announced loudly. The humans are retreating. They fear Krillian power. But Elder Morthex was not satisfied. Something felt wrong. He called the aide back. Show me the exact fleet movements. All of them. The aide pulled up a holographic display. It showed human ships across a dozen systems all moving simultaneously. But as Morthex studied the patterns, his concern grew. The ships were not scattered or panicked. They moved in perfect coordination, each fleet positioning itself in a specific location. This was not a retreat. This was a redeployment. Representative Zindar appeared beside him, studying the same display. This is familiar, the alien said quietly. What do you mean? My people have old military records. From our war with Earth, we saw patterns like this once before. Zindar's scales turned a darker shade. We learned too late what it meant. Tell me, Morthex demanded. Humans do not panic. When they move, it is always with purpose. This is not fear. This is preparation. Morthex felt a chill run through his body. Preparation for what? War, Zindar said simply. Real war. The next 24 hours brought more reports. Human colonies were activating defense systems that the Council had not known existed. Massive weapons platforms came online. Shield generators powered up. Civilian populations were being evacuated to heavily protected inner systems. And the human military. They continued to pull back, but in a pattern that now made several experienced military minds nervous. Ambassador Thulrek dismissed these concerns. Defense systems mean nothing. The Krillian fleet will crush them. But Elder Morthex had begun investigating the peace talks themselves. He requested full recordings of every session. He reviewed every piece of evidence humanity had presented. And what he found disturbed him deeply. The evidence was real. Video recordings showed Krillian ships with clear identification markers attacking human settlements. Survivors gave consistent testimony. Medical records proved injuries. Flight data was verified by multiple independent sources. Everything humanity had claimed was true, and the Council had ignored it all. Morthex brought this to Vextar's attention in a private meeting. High Counselor, I have reviewed the evidence again. The human claims appear legitimate. Vextar waved a dismissive hand. Clever forgeries, nothing more. Our own technical analysts verified the recordings. They are not forgeries. Then your analysts are incompetent, Vextar snapped. The Krillian Empire does not attack peaceful settlements. We are a civilized people. Then explain these, Morthex said, projecting images of destroyed human farms, burned buildings, and dead colonists. Accidents, Vextar said. Misunderstandings. Perhaps the humans attacked first and we defended ourselves. That is not what the evidence shows. Vextar's eyes narrowed. Are you questioning the word of the Krillian Empire, Elder? Morthex met his gaze. I am questioning whether this council truly sought peace or simply sided with the stronger power. The meeting ended badly. But Morthex was not finished. He quietly contacted several other council members, sharing what he had found. Some were shocked. Others had suspected the truth but stayed silent. A few did not care, believing that maintaining good relations with the Krillians was more important than justice for humanity. Meanwhile, Dr. Yuna had been busy. The human scientist had compiled every piece of data from the peace talks, every Krillian attack, every council dismissal of evidence. She organized it into a clear, undeniable timeline. Then she published it on the Galactic Data Network, available for anyone to see. The document spread quickly. Independent journalists picked it up. Smaller species that had no voice in the council read it. Within hours, public opinion across the galaxy began to shift. The Krillian Empire had lied. The council had ignored justice. And humanity had tried repeatedly to solve this peacefully. Vextar was furious when he learned of the publication. He demanded the council force its removal. But the data was already everywhere, copied and shared across thousands of systems. There was no stopping it now. It does not matter, Thalric told him. Public opinion is irrelevant. We have the military advantage. Once we claim the human colonies, this will all be forgotten. Then claim them, Vextar ordered. Send the fleets. Take what is ours. Supreme Commander Kixval, leader of the Krillian military, assembled 3 massive fleets, hundreds of ships carrying thousands of soldiers. They would sweep into human space, occupy the colonies, and force humanity to accept Krillian terms. The fleets moved toward the border. Human scouts detected them immediately, but the human ships did not intercept. They simply watched and reported. Why are they not fighting? Kixval wondered aloud. Because they cannot, his second-in-command replied. They are too weak, too afraid. But on the human flagship, Captain Hana was smiling. The Krillian fleets are exactly where we expected them to be. Are the colonists clear? Daesung asked. Every civilian has been evacuated from the target zones, Hana confirmed. And our defensive positions? Fully active. All platforms online. All ships in position. Daesung nodded slowly. He had hoped it would not come to this. He had genuinely wanted peace. But the Krillians had chosen war, and the Council had enabled them. Now they would all learn what that choice meant. Send the message to all human forces, Daesung said quietly. Rules of engagement are now active. Defend our territory. Protect our people. And remember, we are not the aggressors here. History will judge us by our actions. And the Krillian fleets? Hana asked. Let them come, Daesung said. Let them see what they have chosen. In the council chamber, Representative Zindar approached Elder Morthex one final time. Elder, my government is withdrawing our ships from the border region. Why? Because we remember, Zindar said. We remember what humans are like when you push them too far. The Krillians are about to learn, and when they do, it will be terrible. Should we warn them? Zindar's scales shifted to a pale color. They would not listen. They did not listen to humanity's evidence. They did not listen to humanity's warnings. Why would they listen to us? Morthex looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Krillian fleets were advancing on human colonies. Somewhere out there, humanity was preparing to show the galaxy who they really were. He had tried to prevent this. He had tried to make the Council see reason. Now all he could do was watch, and hope that whatever came next would not destroy them all. The first Krillian fleet entered human space at dawn. Supreme Commander Kixval stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 300 ships spread out in formation, ready to claim what the High Counselor had promised them. Scanning for human vessels, his tactical officer reported. Any resistance? None detected, Commander. The colonies appear to be abandoned. Kixval smiled. They ran. Just as we predicted. Move in and secure the landing zones. The fleet advanced toward the first human colony world. It was a farming planet. Fields of golden grain visible from orbit. The settlement was small, maybe 5,000 people before the evacuation. An easy target. We are in orbital range, the navigator announced. Excellent. Begin landing operations. That was when the first weapons platform fired. The shot came from seemingly nowhere. One moment space was empty. The next, a beam of concentrated energy sliced through the lead Krillian transport ship. The vessel exploded in a brilliant flash, debris scattering across the void. What was that? Kixval shouted. Unknown, sir. We are detecting multiple power signatures. They were hidden, but they are active now. The tactical display lit up with dozens of red markers. Weapons platforms surrounded the planet, concealed in the asteroid field, hidden in the debris of old satellites, camouflaged against the planet itself. They had been there all along, waiting, and now they were firing. Krillian ships scattered, trying to evade, but the platforms tracked them with devastating accuracy. Another transport exploded. A frigate took a direct hit and went spinning off course, systems failing. A destroyer's shields collapsed under repeated strikes. "Return fire," Kixval ordered. The Krillian fleet unleashed everything they had. Missiles launched. Energy weapons blazed. The space around the planet became a storm of destruction, but the platforms were well defended. Their shields absorbed the hits, and they kept firing with mechanical precision. Within the first hour, the Krillian fleet lost 37 ships. They destroyed 0 platforms. Captain Hana watched from the command center of a human defense station. The tactical display showed everything. The Krillian fleet had walked directly into a carefully prepared defensive network. "They are trying to withdraw," her tactical officer reported. "Let them," Hana said calmly. "Do not pursue. Our orders are to defend, not attack." The same scene played out at 3 other colony worlds. Krillian fleets entered what they thought was empty space, and found themselves facing defensive systems they had never imagined existed. Each fleet took heavy losses. Each one retreated in confusion and fear. By the end of the day, the Krillian Empire had lost 40% of its forward military strength. Not a single Krillian soldier had set foot on a human colony, and not a single human ship had left defensive positions to attack. The report reached the Galactic Council within hours. "The chamber erupted in chaos. This is impossible," Vextar shouted. "How did they hide such weapons? How did we not know?" "Because you never asked," Elder Morthek said quietly. "You assumed humanity was weak. You never investigated their actual capabilities. They attacked our fleets." "Your fleets entered their territory," Morthex replied. "They defended themselves. Is that not what you claimed humans did wrong? Defending their own space?" Vextar's face darkened. "You defend them?" "I defend truth," Morthex said. "And the truth is that your empire attacked human colonies first. Humanity brought evidence of this to the Council. We ignored it. Then your fleets invaded their territory and they defended themselves. What did you expect would happen?" Ambassador Thulrek stood up. "The Council must condemn this human aggression. We must demand they stand down." "On what grounds?" Representative Zindar asked. "They have not left their own territory. Every shot they fired was in defense of their own worlds. Under galactic law, they have done nothing wrong." The chamber fell into argument. Some delegates supported the Krillians. Others began to question whether humanity had been right all along. A few stayed silent, watching and waiting. Ambassador G1 chose that moment to send a message to the Council. It was not a video call. It was simply data. Complete recordings of every peace talk session, every insult the humans had endured, every piece of evidence they had presented, every Krillian lie, and at the end a simple statement. Humanity came to you in peace. You chose to believe lies over evidence. You threatened us. You enabled attacks on our colonies. We left your council not in anger, but in disappointment. What happens now is the result of your choices, not ours. Elder Morthex read the message 3 times. Then he forwarded it to every delegate in the council. Within the hour, it was spreading across the galactic networks, just as Dr. Yuna's earlier report had. Public opinion shifted dramatically. The smaller species, the ones with no military power of their own, began to speak out. They had always feared the strong would prey on the weak. Now they saw the Council had allowed exactly that. And they saw one species pushed to its limit, refusing to be prey. Support for humanity grew. Support for the Krillian Empire crumbled. But Vextar was not finished. He was desperate now, his pride wounded and his position in danger. He called an emergency meeting with his military commanders. "We will mobilize the full fleet," he declared. "Every ship, every soldier. We will crush the humans completely." "High Counselor," Kixval said carefully, "we have already lost many ships. Their defenses are far stronger than we anticipated. Because we were not ready. Because we underestimated them." Vextar slammed one of his hands on the table. "Now we know what we face. Now we will bring overwhelming force. They cannot defend against our entire military." "What if they can?" another commander asked quietly. "They cannot," Vextar shouted. "They are one species, isolated and alone. We are the Krillian Empire. We will not be humiliated by these primitives. The decision was made. The Krillian Empire would commit 80% of its total military force to invading human space. It would be the largest military operation the Krillians had launched in 200 years. Human intelligence detected the mobilization within hours. Commander Taeyang brought the report directly to Admiral Dae-sung. "They are sending everything," Taeyang said. "It looks like 8 full fleets, maybe 1,000 ships total." Dae-sung studied the tactical projections. "Our defensive systems can handle that. It will cost them dearly, but we can hold." "Is that what we are going to do?" Captain Hana asked. "Just hold?" Dae-sung looked at her, then at Taeyang, then at the strategic map displayed on the wall. It showed human space, Krillian space, and everything in between. The Krillian Empire was massive. Dozens of systems spanning hundreds of light years. Human territory was smaller, more concentrated. "They are sending everything to attack us," Dae-sung said slowly. "Which means they are leaving their own territory nearly defenseless." Taeyang nodded. "I had the same thought." "We told the council we prefer peace," Hana said. "We told them we would defend ourselves. We never promised not to respond." Dae-sung was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the colonists who had died in Krillian raids. He thought about the families torn apart. He thought about the council chamber, where truth had been ignored and lies had been believed. He thought about 3 months of insults and threats. "We gave them every chance," he said finally. "We tried diplomacy. We presented evidence. We asked for justice. They laughed at us. They threatened us. They sent their fleets to take our homes. So what do we do?" Hana asked. Dae-sung looked at the map again, at the Krillian Empire, at their nearly empty systems, at their undefended core worlds. "We show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness," he said. "We show them that humanity does not start wars, but we know how to finish them." He turned to Commander Taeyang. "Prepare the strike fleets. Target Krillian military infrastructure only. No civilian centers. No unnecessary destruction. We are not them." "Understood, Admiral." "And send one final message to the Galactic Council," Dae-sung continued. "Tell them that the Krillian Empire brought war to our homes. Tell them we are bringing war to theirs. Tell them this is not aggression. This is consequences." The message was sent, and human fleets, which had been carefully positioned during the entire peace talk process, began to move. Not toward the Krillian invasion force, not toward the border. They moved deep into Krillian space, bypassing the invasion fleets entirely. In the council chamber, Elder Morthex received the notification. He read it once, then looked up at the other delegates. Many of them had not yet seen it. "What is wrong, Elder?" someone asked. Morthex's voice was barely a whisper. "The humans are not defending anymore." "What?" "They are attacking. They are in Krillian space." The chamber fell silent. "That is impossible," Vextar said. "Our fleets would have detected them. Our border defenses would have stopped them." "Your fleets are all heading toward human space," Morthex said. "And according to this report, human ships have already reached your third-tier systems." Vextar grabbed the report and read it. His face went pale. "How?" he whispered. Representative Zindar spoke softly. "Because humans are strategic. Because they planned for this. Because you sent everything you had to attack them, and left yourself defenseless." "This is our nightmare," Morthex said, looking at Vextar. "We enabled your aggression. We ignored human warnings, and now we will all see what humanity is truly capable of." Commander Taeyang stood on the bridge of his flagship, deep in Krillian territory. Around him, the human strike fleet moved with perfect coordination. They had bypassed the Krillian invasion force completely, jumping through a series of routes that most species considered too dangerous or unstable. Humans had mapped these routes years ago. They had prepared for this possibility long before the peace talks even began. "Target acquired," his tactical officer reported. "Krillian Military Shipyard, Sector 7. Taeyang studied the display. The shipyard was massive, capable of building 10 warships at once. But it was nearly empty of defenders. All the Krillian military ships were racing toward human space. "Any civilian vessels in the area?" he asked. "Scanning now, sir." A pause. 2 civilian transports detected. "They are beyond the engagement zone." "Good. All ships target military infrastructure only. Weapons platforms, shield generators, production facilities. Nothing else. Confirm." Each ship captain confirmed. The human fleet had strict orders. They were here to cripple Krillian military capability, not to kill civilians or destroy homes. Fire. The shipyard lit up with explosions. Precision strikes destroyed construction equipment, fuel depots, and weapons storage. The facility was massive, sprawling across space for kilometers. But within 30 minutes it was completely disabled, and the human fleet moved on. The same scene played out across Krillian space. Human ships appeared at military production centers, communication hubs, and defense installations. They struck with devastating accuracy, disabled, not destroyed, crippled, not annihilated, and they avoided every civilian target. On the Krillian homeworld, panic was spreading. Supreme Commander HFY received report after report of human attacks. His invasion fleet was still days away from human space, but the humans had already penetrated deep into Krillian territory. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Where are our defenses?" "Most of our fleet is with you, Commander," an aide replied nervously. "The home systems have only patrol ships and orbital guards. Then redirect the invasion force. We must defend our own worlds. Sir, if we turn back now, we will lose our momentum, and the humans will have time to reinforce their positions." HFY stared at the tactical display. He was trapped. If he continued to human space, the humans would destroy everything behind him. If he turned back, he would abandon the invasion and look weak. There was no good choice, because the humans had made sure there was no good choice. High Counselor Vexitar was in a council emergency session, screaming at anyone who would listen. "This is an act of war. The humans have invaded our territory. The council must intervene." Elder Morthek spoke calmly. "High Counselor, your empire invaded human territory first. You sent military fleets to occupy their colonies. They defended themselves, then responded in kind. We were enforcing council decisions." "The council made no such decision," Morthex replied. "You acted on your own authority, and now you face the consequences." "You must stop them," Vextar pleaded. "Order them to withdraw. Threaten sanctions. Do something." "Humanity withdrew from this council," Representative Zindar said. "We have no authority over them anymore. You made sure of that." On the human flagship, Ambassador G1 was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. News of the human strikes was spreading fast, and with it, fear. Species that had laughed at humanity's departure from the council were now silent. Those who had supported Krillian demands were reconsidering. Everyone was watching to see what humanity would do next. "We are receiving messages from several council members," G1 reported to Admiral Daesung. "They want to negotiate. They want to mediate. After everything that happened, now they want to talk," Captain Hana said with bitter amusement. "Let them talk," Daesung said. "We will listen, but we will not stop until the Krillian military threat is neutralized." Over the next 3 days, human forces systematically dismantled Krillian military infrastructure. They hit production facilities across 8 systems. They disabled communication networks. They destroyed weapons stockpiles and fuel reserves. And they did it all without killing a single civilian. Every strike was precise. Every target was military. When civilian ships were detected near combat zones, human forces waited until they cleared the area. When a strike on a military base would endanger a nearby residential area, the humans found another approach or chose a different target. Dr. Yuna had planned this carefully. She had mapped every Krillian military installation. She had calculated blast radii and potential collateral damage. She had ensured that humanity's response, while devastating to Krillian military power, would be impossible to call a war crime. The galaxy was watching, and what they saw terrified them. Not because humanity was brutal, but because humanity was precise. They could have destroyed entire worlds. They could have killed millions. Instead, they surgically removed Krillian military capability while leaving everything else intact. It was a demonstration of power combined with restraint. And that combination was more frightening than pure destruction could ever be. Commander HFY finally made his decision. He ordered the invasion fleet to turn back. But it was too late. By the time Krillian forces returned to their own territory, the damage was done. Production capacity was down by 70%. Communications were crippled. Defensive installations were offline, and the human fleets, they were already gone, withdrawn to defensive positions before the Krillian military could even find them. In the council chamber, the delegates watched it all unfold with growing horror. This was not supposed to happen. The strong were supposed to dominate the weak. That was how galactic politics had always worked. The Krillians were strong. Humanity was new and isolated, but humanity had just destroyed that assumption. They could have killed everyone. One delegate whispered. Why didn't they? Because they are not like us, Elder Morthek said quietly. We assumed they were. We assumed they would act as we would. But they have different values. Different rules. What rules? Someone asked. Honor, proportional response, distinction between soldiers and civilians. Morthex looked around the chamber. We ignored those values when it suited us. Now we see what happens when they apply those same values in war. A message arrived for the council. It was from Admiral Dae Sung. Short and simple. The Krillian Empire's military capability has been neutralized. They are no longer a threat to human colonies or any other species. Their civilian population has not been harmed. Their economy has not been targeted. When they are ready to discuss genuine peace, we will listen. Until then, humanity will remain in defensive positions. We hope the Council has learned that peace must be built on respect and truth, not threats and lies. Vextar read the message and slumped in his seat. His empire was crippled. His military was in ruins. And the worst part was that he had no one to blame but himself. What do we do now? Thulrek asked quietly. We accept their terms, Vextar said, his voice hollow. What choice do we have? Representative Zindar approached Elder Morthax after the session ended. My people have a saying. Beware the patient ones, for when they act, mountains tremble. Humanity demonstrated that patience today. Morthax agreed. No, Zindar corrected. Humanity demonstrated that patience weeks ago when they endured our insults. Today they demonstrated why their patience should never be mistaken for weakness. Across the galaxy, military analysts were reviewing the human operation. The speed, the coordination, the precision. It had been planned down to the smallest detail. Every fleet movement, every target selection, every timing element. Humanity had not reacted emotionally. They had executed a strategy they had prepared long before the peace talks fell apart. How long ago did they plan this? One analyst wondered. From the beginning, another replied. Maybe even before. They hoped for peace, but they prepared for war. And when war came, they were ready. On the human flagship, Captain Hana looked at the casualty reports. 37 human soldiers injured in defensive operations. 4 killed when a Krillian missile penetrated their shields. Every single name was known. Every single person was mourned. The Krillians lost thousands, she said to Admiral Dae Sung. We lost 4. And we still grieve as if we lost everything. Because to us we did lose everything, Dae Sung replied. Those 4 people had families. Had dreams. Had futures. The Krillians see soldiers as numbers. We see them as people. Is that what makes us different? One of many things, Dae Sung said. We value individual lives. We distinguish between soldiers and civilians. We use only the force necessary to achieve our objectives. These are not weaknesses. They are strengths. The galaxy is terrified of us now, Hana observed. Good, Dae Sung said. Fear will make them cautious. Caution will make them think twice before threatening us again. But they are not just afraid of our weapons. They are afraid because we demonstrated restraint. Because we could have done far worse and chose not to. He looked at the tactical display showing human ships returning to defensive positions. We did not want this war, he said quietly. We tried everything to avoid it. But when it came, we fought it our way. With purpose. With discipline. With honor. And now the galaxy knows what that means. In the council chamber, emergency sessions continued. Plans were being made for new peace negotiations. 3 weeks after humanity's strike on Krillian space, the Galactic Council chamber looked different. The atmosphere had changed. Where there had once been casual arrogance, there was now careful attention. Where there had been dismissal, there was now respect. Elder Morthex called the session to order. The chamber was full, every species represented. But today there was one new delegation present. Humanity had returned. Admiral Dae Sung sat at the human table, flanked by Ambassador Ji-Wan and Captain Hana. Behind them, Dr. Yuna and Commander Tae Yang observed quietly. The human delegation was small, professional, and calm. They did not look like conquerors or victors. They looked like people who were tired of war and ready for peace. The Galactic Council welcomes the human delegation, Morthex said formally. We appreciate your willingness to return to negotiations. We never wanted to leave, Dae-sung replied. We came here 3 months ago seeking justice and peace. We left because those things seemed impossible. The recent conflict proved that peace is always better than war, but it must be built on truth and mutual respect. Across the chamber, High Counselor Vexitar sat in silence. He was still a council member, though his power had been greatly reduced. The Krillian Empire was recovering, but it would take years to rebuild their military. Many on the council now questioned whether they should. The council wishes to extend a formal apology, Morthex continued. We failed to properly evaluate the evidence presented by humanity. We allowed prejudice and political considerations to override justice. This was wrong. It was not everything humanity deserved, but it was a start. We accept your apology, Ji-won said, and we hope this council has learned from these events. Small species deserve the same hearing as large ones. Evidence matters more than politics, and threats should never replace diplomacy. Several delegates nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. The truth was difficult for many of them to accept. Humanity has submitted terms for renewed relations, Morthex said. We will review them now. The terms appeared on screens throughout the chamber. They were straightforward and firm. First, recognition of human territorial sovereignty. No species could claim human worlds or enter human space without permission. Second, accountability for aggression. The Krillian Empire would formally apologize for raids on human colonies and provide compensation to affected families. Third, reform of council procedures. All evidence must be reviewed fairly regardless of which species presents it. Fourth, defense pacts must be reciprocal. Humanity would consider alliances, but only with species who demonstrated genuine respect and good faith. Fifth, no tribute, no subjugation. Humanity would never pay for the privilege of peace. These terms are acceptable, Morthex said after the council reviewed them. Does any delegation object? Vextar stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. The Krillian Empire accepts these terms, he said, his voice strained. We acknowledge our actions against human colonies were wrong. We apologize to the human people, and we will provide the requested compensation. It clearly pained him to say it, but he had no choice. His empire was broken, his military in ruins, and everyone knew that if he refused, humanity could finish what they had started. Then let it be recorded, Morthex said. The Galactic Council accepts humanity's terms. Let us now work toward genuine peace. The session ended. As delegates filed out, several approached the human table. Representative Zindar was first. Admiral Dae-sung, my government would like to discuss a formal alliance. We have respected humanity since our ancient conflict. We would be honored to stand with you now. Dae-sung nodded. We will send a delegation to discuss terms. Others followed. Smaller species that had been dominated by larger powers for centuries saw in humanity a potential protector, one that would actually care about justice, not just politics. But Dae-sung was careful. We will consider each proposal individually, he told them. But understand, we do not seek an empire. We do not want to dominate you. We offer partnership, not protection. If you stand with us, you stand as equals. This surprised many of them. They were used to powerful species demanding tribute or obedience. The idea of genuine equality was foreign. Later in a private meeting, Elder Morthex spoke with the human delegation alone. I must ask, the old alien said. During your strike on Krillian space, you could have destroyed their worlds. You could have killed millions.
Why didn't you?
Dae-sung was quiet for a moment. Because war should have rules, Elder. Because soldiers and civilians are different. Because power without restraint is tyranny. Many species would have shown no mercy. We are not many species, Captain Hana said. We are human, and we believe that how you fight a war matters as much as whether you win it. Morthex studied them carefully. The galaxy is terrified of you, not because of your weapons, but because of your discipline. They realize now that you could have annihilated the Krillians, but chose not to. That restraint is more frightening than any weapon. Fear is not what we wanted, Ji-won said. But if fear makes species think carefully before threatening others, perhaps it serves a purpose. Will you remain in the council? Morthex asked. Yes, Dae-sung replied. But we will speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. We will demand justice even when it is difficult, and we will walk away again if the council returns to its old ways. That is fair, Morthex said. Perhaps that is what this council needs. Someone willing to walk away. Days later, Vextar requested a private meeting with Admiral Dae-sung. It was granted, though Captain Hana insisted on being present. The Krillian leader looked older now, his confidence shattered. "I underestimated you," he said simply. "You underestimated humanity," Dae-sung corrected. "I am just one person. I thought your patience was weakness. I thought your diplomatic efforts were stalling tactics." Vextar looked down at his hands. "I was wrong about everything." "Yes, you were," Hana said bluntly. "My empire is broken," Vextar continued. "It will take decades to recover, and all because I refused to believe you were our equals." "Not our equals," Dae-sung said quietly. "Just equals. We never claimed superiority. We only demanded respect." Vextar nodded slowly. "I have learned that lesson. At great cost." "Then perhaps something good came from this," Dae-sung said. "Perhaps the galaxy learned that peace must be genuine or it is worthless." After Vextar left, Hana turned to Dae-sung. "Do you think he really learned?" "I think he learned fear," Dae-sung replied. "Whether he learned wisdom remains to be seen." Back on Earth, humanity was processing what had happened. The colonies were being rebuilt. Families were mourning those lost in the Krillian raids and the brief war. But there was also pride. Humanity had stood up to the galaxy and proven they belonged. Dr. Yuna published another report, this one analyzing the entire conflict from a strategic perspective. It became required reading in military academies across human space. The key lesson: preparation and patience combined with clear moral principles could overcome superior numbers. Commander Taeyang returned to his fleet, which now patrolled the borders with renewed confidence. They were not looking for a fight, but they were ready if one came. Ambassador Ji-wan established new protocols for human diplomacy. Respect would be expected, not requested. Evidence would always matter more than politics. And humanity would never again allow others to define their worth. In the Galactic Council, reforms began slowly. New procedures were put in place for evaluating evidence. Smaller species gained more voice in decisions. The assumption that power equaled rightness was being questioned. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect, but it was better. Representative Zindar spoke with Elder Morthex one final time about the human situation. "Do you think the galaxy truly understands what happened?" Zindar asked. "Some do," Morthex replied. "They understand that humanity demonstrated something rare: power with restraint, strength with honor, the ability to destroy but the wisdom to choose mercy. And those who do not understand, they will learn," Morthex said, "either through observation or through the same lesson the Krillians learned." "Personally, I hope they choose observation." Months passed. The galaxy settled into a new normal. Humanity maintained defensive positions but did not expand aggressively. They accepted some alliances and rejected others. They contributed to council discussions but never hesitated to disagree when they thought the council was wrong. And slowly, they earned something that could not be taken by force or demanded through threats. They earned genuine respect. Admiral Dae-sung stood in his quarters one evening, looking out at the stars. So much had happened since that day he walked out of the council chamber. So many lives changed, so much conflict and pain. Captain Hana entered quietly. "Thinking about the war?" "Thinking about the peace," Dae-sung replied. "We fought to defend our people, but we also fought to prove a point. That patience is not weakness. That restraint is not cowardice. That humanity deserves respect. Do you think we proved it?" Dae-sung nodded slowly. "Yes, but the real question is whether we can maintain it. Power is easy to display in war. Maintaining principles in peace is harder." "We will manage," Hana said confidently. "We are human. We plan, we prepare, we endure." "Yes," Dae-sung agreed. "And that is what terrifies them most. Not that we can fight, but that we fight with purpose.